All right, welcome Peace and Social Justice Show. Guillermo Mash here. And quick introduction for what you're going to be hearing. We do have an amazing piece that actually was recorded as a conversation between myself, aka Without a Roof, Bruce Koistinen, aka Guitar Clem, and Chico Police, who rolled up on Clem a week and a half or so ago after they had passed the No Property Waterways Ordinance in Chico, California, which essentially outlawed being in public space with possessions. Physically, we have a couple of folks in the audience that we'll be hearing from. We have Rain, who's a longtime activist here in the Chico community, involved with Occupy, and also involved very, very heavily with the LGBTQ plus community and Food Not Bombs. And also Peter Hoffman from Food Not Bombs, who also is going to be interviewed later in this segment at the meal they've been doing at the Chico City Council, outside Chico City Council, first and third Tuesdays in a nonviolent demonstration for the laws and the criminalization against homelessness. So with no further ado, take a look at this piece, and then later on in the show, we're going to actually also hear from a few folks that have recently been housed in some transitional housing opportunities and some other vignettes that I've filmed over the years that kind of emphasize some of the things we're seeing in Chico and points beyond. So enjoy this segment, and thanks again for listening.
Well, actually early in the morning out here, there's nobody here, so it's like I let them kind of run around a little bit. Yeah, can't keep them tied up all the time.
You got to do what he does, man, and then the cops can't hassle you for that.
Well, he's got a big old fishing reel.
Well, that's too long too. So.
How long is it supposed to be? So he's illegal too with that?
It's supposed to be 6 feet.
Really?
That's it.
Man, that's like keeping the public on a short leash. Trying to add a little humor.
The last city I worked for, every park had no dogs, which seemed kind of crazy.
That's a little crazy.
Simple.
I did not know that. So everyone that sells a leash in Chico, that's those retracting ones, they're illegal? Is that what you're
to use? Yeah. Well,
oh my God!
Just don't let it out.
Well, in here it says there's a sign that says dogs got to be on a leash no longer than 6 feet.
Yeah.
In the park, so on the streets they're okay.
Yeah.
Well, no,
No?
it says anywhere.
Wow, that is freaking amazing.
If you ever look at the municipal code, there's so many little municipal codes. It's crazy.
You'd almost need a book, even if you were doing this 10 years.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. As you've seen, we're getting a lot of complaints.
From what?
People hanging out at this park, violating things like smoking, drinking, dogs off leash. Okay? You know as well as I do, there's several people here that hang out here all day long and drink way too much and detract from.
Yeah, they usually hang out at the amphitheater, though. They don't hang out here. I'm out open.
I usually see you here all the time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot on our plate as far as what we choose to do with our enforcement time. But when my boss is saying this is one of them, then I'm going to start citing.
Well, I can rotate out of here.
I'm going to start citing you. I'm just telling you this because I like to let people know. But I'm going to start every little thing citing you. So
Okay.
they want people. You know, we can't just kick people out of the park, obviously, but there's rules and things that we can enforce. So we're going to start doing that. Whose stuff is that?
That'd be my gear.
Be yours?
Yeah, I'll collect it up and pack it up, and I'll rotate out of here.
Okay.
Now, where could he go with that stuff and be legal in public space?
What's that?
Where could he go with that stuff and be legal in public space?
Nowhere.
The issue is you're homeless, right?
Yes.
Yes. So you have all this stuff you lug around all day. Now you're choosing to hang out in a downtown area.
No, I won't go downtown.
No, hear me out.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is where the complaints lie. So people either pack their stuff and they leave it all in the creeks, which is terrible because they don't pick a lot of it up and it washes out to the ocean, or they leave it in front of businesses or parks and stuff. And it detracts from what the intent of this place is. This place is not a big storage lot.
No, it's not.
And it's not a place to hang out. I'm talking about what it's intended for. It's not intended for adult men to sit here all day on a bench where kids, it's a kids park. There's other parks, as well as I do.
But those same rules apply everywhere, right?
What's that?
Those same laws apply everywhere in the city, that new ordinance, right?
Well,
so
we're talking about two different things. We're talking about courtesy and... We're talking about courtesy and then we're talking about laws. So I'm talking about the best place to sit all day. I mean, you look like that's, you know, what you do with a large portion of your day is you hang out, which is fine. But maybe there's a better place that, you know, you're not going to get contact.
Well,
but there's no place he can go. I'm just trying to understand that new law, because the way the new law is written, it's anywhere. So if you got
new law?
The public waterway law, that whole new thing they passed about public property and all that thing that went through the city council like a week ago. So pretty much anywhere he goes, if somebody calls and complains, and if you guys got time, you're going to go over there, he's going to get the same story, isn't he? Because he can't be anywhere as far as I know.
In all honesty, I haven't read that.
Okay, I can imagine. I haven't either.
I don't know if it just applies to waterways or it applies to... I don't know.
Right. I know you're just...
We'll cross that bridge another day.
All right.
But
I'm just trying to...
Ultimately, I mean, it's a tough situation, and the city's getting overrun by
There's a lot of homeless out here, and they're young ones.
Yeah.
And
they're out stealing. They're out detracting from these business owners that pay a lot of money, and a lot of people don't want to come down here. I'm one of them. I don't come down here unless I have to, off duty.
Officer, is it okay if I sit at the bathroom over there?
I don't know. I mean,
it is Eugene Ringgold Park, but that's on the other side of the bathroom. It's a public bathroom, so I can park over there.
I mean, until we get complaints, and then we have to start.
Yeah, which is my point.
Over there.
Which is my point.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be those assholes who just want to complain about something.
They're not assholes. They're taxpayers who want to enjoy what their tax money's going to.
I think where it really becomes a problem, for a societal problem, is the park wasn't designed for people to come that have stuff, but it makes it by deference. It's not a park or place anymore that's designed for people that don't have homes. Yeah. And I know you don't make
that's what a park was designed for.
Well, a park's designed for everybody everybody in the public to enjoy it, and some people don't have places to put their stuff. So.
But as a taxpayer,
I'm a taxpayer.
Yeah, no, I'm saying as my own opinion.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think this is what this is intended for. You know, there's equipment. People need to feel comfortable. There was just last week someone trying to use the park. Someone took their purse because this is a place that seedy people hang out at. So that's part of why we're out here now too, is trying to...
So the most important feedback I can give you came from an advocate down in the Bay Area, and it really warmed my heart. He says the way the laws are written, that people that are homeless and living in extreme poverty, they have to hide from the same law enforcement that's designed to protect us all. Because I run into stories every day, officer, of people being robbed and stolen from in the homeless community. And very few of them, one, that either bother to report it, or two, they just kind of go, no one ever does anything. As soon as they find out we're transients, it's like, hey, you got your stuff robbed in the park, tough luck.
Well,
so, you know.
One of the problems with transients right now is there's a code amongst them. And they don't want to tell on each other because it's a community where they're kind of enforcing their own rules and stuff now. There's so many of them here. Am I wrong? Is there like a transient code now?
Yeah,
they hang out with the right people
I understand why they got people flying cardboard signs. They got people sleeping in business fronts.
Well, that's not even what I'm getting at. Is amongst transients getting their stuff stolen from each other, they don't want to tell on each other.
No,
and then
that's one scenario. That's not 100%.
No,
right.
I would say it's more often than not right now. At least amongst Chico transients.
I think what pushes it in the wrong direction, good and decent people, like 3 kids I'm trying to help out right now, they know. Why am I going to call the cops? They're not going to do anything. And they're right. You're not. I don't think you're going to.
That's not necessarily true, but.
Well, maybe if I see them, I'll ask them if they can call Chico PD and explain how they got robbed. But anyway. But he's right, because Clem is basically going to hide from the cops. Every time he sees a cop, it's like, oh, here we go again. So,
but look at what homeless advocacy has done to the city.
What has it done?
Bring in people like the Jesus Center and other centers, it's just attracted people. And it's turned this downtown center into a place people don't want to go. And you see a change in the culture here is people have a heart for helping people, and it goes from, yeah, bring them here, we'll help them, let's set up all the services we can, let's give them money, they said they're hungry, let's give them food money, and it's just drawn all these problems in. And now you're seeing, not amongst everyone, but I would say a lot of those people that just strictly wanted to help and felt sorry, they're seeing kind of people's true colors, and that they're here just to drink and use drugs.
Maybe I'll talk to your public relations person, because there was a lot of what you just said that there was an education opportunity. Homelessness is an issue in every single town, and the people that are causing your biggest problems, they're not people that are coming here for services. People that are raping and pillaging and beating up on the poor. It is not. When I talk, I've been doing this work on the streets for like 4 years, and people don't come to Chico because the Jesus Center's here. Now, if they get to Chico and they find out the Jesus Center's here, they may go there. But it's an absolute, pretty damn close to a lie that the issue in Chico is because people are helping people. I mean, that is actually part of the problem. To try to make people believe that, having a Jesus Center or a tourist shelter is a bad thing for our community.
What do you think draws people from all over?
They travel through, man. I mean, the stories I get, they come here, like one kid up in Upper Bidwell, one of the first persons I met when I got here. His brother said he could come out here and be an electrician. He came out with his girlfriend, he told him to kick rocks. He's out on the street. I got dozens of them like that. Kicked out, I just interviewed a kid and put him on KZFR. His family threw him out of the house at 18. Said, here you go. Tossed him onto the plaza. Okay, here you go. Those are the stories I hear. And I think it's really sad that the city only wants to present the whole issue of, we have services, so obviously that's why all these people are coming here. It's false. Every single community is homelessness is like a freaking ridiculously huge problem in every single community. If you want to find the issue, go to Garberville. I mean, they are the most abject. They hate on poor people. They lock up the water, they lock up the bathrooms, everything's like locked down there. They still come. It has nothing to do with services.
I don't think the city's trying to get rid of services. One of the solutions is we're trying to monitor these services. That the people that are causing the issues, we're trying to work with them more, as opposed to just freely giving it to them.
Now, I'm just trying to educate you, because I don't see that as a common.
But a lot of people,
not even near.
A lot of people don't want rehabilitation. They just want to be. You see it. I mean, the center. I'm drawing a blank. Over by Costco. They don't want those rules. Yeah, tourist shelters. Yeah, they don't want those rules. They don't want to be offered services. They just want to live their life and
maybe I'll talk to the PR. Maybe there's an opportunity to help educate the general public and the police force about some of the real issues and the stories of homelessness. Because I know you guys are trained just to talk about specific instances or cases, but I've seen some just ridiculous tragedy out here. And that, the more we paint everyone as being these type of people, it makes it really hard on everybody.
I mean, do you
like these three kids.
Do you talk to many of the business owners as far as what it's done to their business?
Oh, I do. Absolutely, I do. Matter of fact, I've talked to several business owners. I didn't get involved with this last ordinance. That told me absolutely they think it's being overstated. And I said, do you want to go on the record? Oh, no. I couldn't ever do that. I talked to Katie Simmons and said, some of the business owners said they sent letters. What happened to those? Oh, we sent them to City Council. So business owners, man, they're not going to speak out against this. They're under the thumb. They're under the pressure of the person next to them. I talk to business owners.
Well, the vast majority of our calls are transient related calls. If you look, I mean, I spend half my day going through calls of the issues they're causing. And I'm not saying.
Well, I know, because the thing that's really fascinating to me is because it's fun. It's not fun in that sense. And I've talked to other police about this. You're out talking to people for different reasons than I am. You're out talking to people because you just got a police call. So I'm invariably going to be talking to different kinds of people.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
But a lot of people, there's a few people in this park. Like one of them is that young older lady here who's seriously mentally ill that's got stuff.
Yeah.
And I actually saw her CHP officer roll up on her one day after I'd given her food and threw her out of downtown and said she had needed to move her cart. she wasn't breaking any laws whatsoever. So
CHP did that?
Yeah, CHP did that. It's amazing. So anyway, I know you're just doing your job, but that's all I got. All right, Clem, so you're gonna move. Where are you gonna move to, man?
Well, I gotta roll up my gear and shove off. I'm gonna go over to the bathroom over there because I gotta use it. And I don't know. It's not.
You too, police officer.
All right, man, that was a very powerful piece. I just edited that up last night, and I just want a couple of clarifying points. One thing that was actually rather interesting that was a little off mic as soon as I turned it off, I just came up to Clem. Clem was actually in Children's Park over there at the corner of First and Broadway, and I literally had said to him, have the cops rolled up on you yet? And I swear to goodness, the truth is stranger than fiction. As soon as I said that, I turned around and the cops started walking through the park. But I want to make sure that people know it was recorded in Children's Park. The other point of clarification before I open the mics to our three folks in the studio audience, I mentioned briefly, I didn't get involved with this whole public waterways ordinance. I was heavily involved with the sit and lie ordinance, which was not that long ago. And when you have references to Katie Simmons, that's Katie Simmons from the Chamber of Commerce, that we were discussing letters. So when I had the whole discussion around the context of talking to business, it was about talking about the sit and lie law. And just as a point of clarification, I was the very first downtown ambassador. I talked to dozens of business people as a downtown ambassador during the sit and lie period and as an advocate on the street. So I just want to be as forceful as I can. I talk to businesses. I talked to everyone about this issue. So, and I'm going to actually talk to the studio audience here. They're kind of chomping at the bit. There was a lot in that piece, guys. So maybe I'll start with you, Rain. What would you have to say about what you just heard? Maybe some points that you'd want to clarify or expand on.
First of all, I was at the city council meeting where they took comment and decided on the new ordinance. And I heard the ordinance read through and described by the deputy sheriff, who used very dehumanizing language. He talked multiple times about the police getting their hooks into these people, quote unquote, which, he didn't clarify exactly what he meant by that, but it sounds pretty aggressive. And part of the problem is that there's this whole rhetoric that's repeated over and over again without any foundation, like that police officer we were just listening to is repeating the same script over and over again that people just don't even know what the foundation of the claims they're making are, that there is no real foundation for it, like saying, oh, we're attracting more homeless people because we have services here. And like you pointed out, even cities that don't have services still have people on the street, right? Mm-hmm. And ultimately, I feel like it reinforces this very dehumanizing perspective that if you don't give people services, they'll die. I mean, we've had three people that I know of in Chico die of exposure on the streets in the last couple weeks, and that's a reality. And there are not enough resources for the people who are here. Even if every person wanted to go to a shelter and wanted to go through all of the rules and regulations it takes to get into a shelter, there are not enough beds in this city for all of the people that are on the street, even if they wanted to. So this script of, well, there are plenty of services and they just don't want them, or we're giving them services and that's making the problem worse, is completely ludicrous and foundationless.
One thing I'll add, because it goes into the business thing that kind of is upsetting to me as an advocate. It's done a tremendous amount of work in this area and talked to everyone on all sides of the issue. I just talked to the police officers about this. I had this little story play that I was going to do. I was going to walk into one of the businesses and go, "Hello, I'm Bill Mash, and I'm wonderful to be in your clothing store, and I'm here to help you run your business." And they'd be like, "Oh, great. What do you know about clothing?" "Oh, I know absolutely nothing, but I'm sure I can help make you run a better clothing store." What is that business owner going to say to me? They're going to either laugh, maybe they'll call 911 and think we got some mental health illness. I see the same exact thing with the homelessness issue. And I think any listener that's here listening to this, and if you have friends that are on whatever side of this issue, is the police are not presenting the picture of homelessness. They're presenting the picture of homelessness as it relates to a criminal that they want to get their hooks into. And we're going to hear from a few people, and actually in this next piece that's done at the Food Not Bombs, that kind of give you a little bit more insight to the fact that the people out there for very, very amazingly horrific reasons. And very seldom do I come across a story that Rain and Peter and Chris that doesn't have some crazy, insane backstory. One of them I'll say is a kid, I won't say who he is, he comes to Chico. He's not presenting as he came to Chico because he didn't want to. He's a hobo riding the trains. I get to know these people. That's what I do. He was sexually abused by his dad for many, many years, okay? We're going to say what kind of choices he had there. So the whole thing is just do not listen to the Chico police if you want to understand what homelessness is all about. I guess that's my point. And Peter, sorry, I'm getting off on my little soapbox. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No. Thank you for that interview. Thank you, Rain, for the comment and everything. What I noticed from that interview that you played for everyone was the police seemed really out of their element in regards to addressing the homeless problem. For me, that says, this isn't a policing matter. This isn't a law enforcement matter. This is a lack of social services, a lack of services matter. And the police, they do good things with homeless things, and getting the hooks into them can be a good thing. They can direct homeless people to I don't know if I'm on the minority in the studio here, but they can direct homeless people to services. But the thing is, there aren't any that in sufficient quantity and quality.
Right. Maybe one thing to add, because I didn't make the note to add this, but it's just this whole broad brush. There's nothing called black and white, because I have to defer to the police officer who's rightly said, I talked about people not wanting to call the police when they have their stuff stolen. He said, well, that's not always true. Of course it's not always true. I actually had the most amazing street interview. It was a very hard thing. It was like a hate crime after the Sit and Lillard passed. Somebody was hosed down on the street. That guy had his mandolin stolen, and Brenda, the harp lady, actually told me the full story. And literally, this kid was at the point where he called the police. And the police, literally, it was an amazing story that at some point I need to write up. But the police came, they saw what the situation was. Maybe they even seen it. This went viral. I was getting calls from from radio stations and literally from the TV. But they literally picked this mandolin up and handed it to this kid. So, the point I'm trying to make is every story is different. And I do believe the police are trying to do the best that they can. As a matter of fact, I said it several times. I know you're just doing your job. But just doing your job is not including to help educate people on what it's like to be homeless and how to get off the streets, because that's not their job.
Well, any marginalized community, the most important voices that can educate you about what it's like to be them is the people who are members of that community.
Bingo.
Agreed.
Matter of fact, the only other thing I'll add, because I've done a lot of work in racial justice, and when I heard that police officer being true to his words, he was a very respectful man, is all you got to do is look at the police records and you can see we're picking up transients. Oh my God, I'm thinking 1960s, black people. My mom, God bless my mom, and it's not really I love my mom. I call those three shout outs, but she grew up in that era, and she says, well, Billy, that blacks actually commit more crimes. You just got to turn on the news. Same exact paradigm. It's exactly the same. So, any final comments? Because then I got another little clip, and then I'm going to...
Yeah, I just want to say, between those two examples, the overall theme here is a marginalized community being the scapegoat for everything that's wrong.
Bingo. Yeah. Like the straw dog. I shouldn't say your final comments, because what I'm going to do here is I have a really cool piece to play. And towards that end, I talked about a homeless woman in that park that was actually targeted by CHP. And I literally have an amazing clip by a homeless friend I have on the street that's actually been on the show, Adam Du Bois. God bless you, Adam, and all your travels. I'm going to play that. I'm going to do the community calendar. But then we're going to play your piece from the Food Not Bombs, where we talk to Peter and then some other homeless folks to get, as you had said, Rain, if you want to know what's going on in a marginalized community, talk to people that are being marginalized. And then we'll come back in the studio and talk about that. But once again, everyone, thanks for listening to the Peace and Social Justice Show. I'm Guillermo Mash, co-hosting today. My distinct pleasure with Chris Nelson. And here we go with the CHP madness in Chico on People Powered Radio.
What up, John? What did we just see here?
Okay, so we saw this cop, right? And he was all like telling this homeless lady, hey, you got to move you in your cart because you can't be sitting here after you ate your meal. But there was a lady and another lady sitting down, and he didn't tell them. So I asked him, hey, why are you harassing the homeless person and not telling these people over here not to keep going on? And he told me to not worry about it and I should quit talking to him. And dude, he's a peace officer, man. I just want to know. I just want to know. Come on now. Why are the home free kids getting harassed? She was a lady, though, so she wasn't really even a kid. She was just a sweet little elderly homeless lady. Man, that really grinds my gears.
Didn't he say shut your mouth?
Oh, something like that. I thought he said burn my mouth, but I guess you told me it was shut my mouth. But
all right, man. Any final comments?
Authority? Man, John gave you authority. Start acting of it. Treat it like it's a privilege. Don't be abusing it now. John, love and guide and protect you on your adventure now. Positive vibrations all around you. John.
All right, once again, next up is the three-piece interview. There's three different interviews. We start off with Peter Hoffman describing what you guys do at the community outreach there down at the City Council. And then I just have two absolutely amazing interviews that I know everyone's going to enjoy. So sit back, listen up. Happy Thanksgiving period, everyone. And, as we get into the Thanksgiving period, always remember, if you have a roof, be grateful. So I'm here with Peter Hoffman from one of my favorite international groups, Food Not Bombs. And you guys have been doing this meal out here at City Council's first and third Tuesdays for like a month now. So why don't you just give us a thumbnail on what you guys are doing and why you're out here?
Well, basically, we're protesting a little bit about the waterways ordinance, reminding City Council especially that they are making choices that kind of benefit people living in Chico.
So do you guys have items that you get on the agenda? I mean, are you affiliated with trying to do some change using the City Council, public comments, the things that are on the calendar? I mean, what do you guys do in that regard?
Nothing as of yet. We do try and support those who do a lot of participation in the City Council. Dan Everhart, yourself, Patrick Newman, and pretty much everyone from the Peace and Justice Center. And we also understand that that's not the only way to approach problems. Just being out here and having our message.
Yeah, just loving on people, giving them food, man. This is a big deal. What one word would best describe how you feel when you come out here?
Probably like community.
Community. It is. That's what I see out here. I see about a half a dozen or more, about 10 different people out here eating food and stuff. So when you say community in the space we're at, what do you mean by that, Peter?
It's real simple. You try and treat people in your community well. The homeless population is definitely part of our community, and they're not being treated very well.
It's my pleasure, man. Autumn's actually been coming into Youth for Justice a lot with her boyfriend, Eric, and she just shared a cool story. I saw you in the plaza and you were waiting to get in Stairways. And why don't you kind of take it from there, how you're in Stairways, and when they open up that new house, Eric's going to get in there from the Tory shelter.
Yeah, I've been homeless since January of this year until just, I think, the 11th or 12th of this month, November. It's been really hard. I've been contacting Stairways for a little while, but they, their program is really new, and they're just, getting everything started. It's been hard because Eric's had, trouble with the law in the past and stuff, so they have to make sure the right people are right for the program. Things are messed up. I kept contacting them, just, letting them know I'm destined for better than this. Please see me. And finally, they just came to the plaza one day. And they were like, tell me your story, what's up? And I told them a little bit about myself and my potential and how I feel I have more to give. And I just need help. And so the next day they came and picked me up with all my stuff, and they gave me a place to live. It's been amazing.
It is. I almost feel like, can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm kind of cheering up because I've known you like 3 or 4 months now. I mean, it's just such a huge blessing. So obviously you're loving being in Stairways. How's it been working out the last couple of weeks?
It's been really nice. I've been able to wash my clothes and shower every day. I have a kitchen. I can cook something. I got a warm bed at night. I don't have to worry about somebody hurting me. Like, I've actually been going to doctor appointments, and I've been going to behavioral health and making appointments to get better and get counseling. I've been looking for jobs. I've been feeling like I can get my hobbies back. Like, all of a sudden, all those things that were so detrimental on the streets that should have been easy for me, like, make life seem doable now. Like, there's hope. So everything's going a lot better.
I try to tell people you've never been homeless. It's impossible to even comprehend. And I've told people I've been homeless, the work I've done, but I can't even imagine being a homeless woman, and all the things that you have to deal with. And I'm just so freaking happy to see you today and hear that great story.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, it's my mind, my thought process, everything is like a 360. I feel great. I feel like I can be normal again, whatever normal is.
Now, what would you say to other ladies that are out here on the street, maybe in a similar position? What kind of hope or guidance would you give them?
Don't give up hope, for one. Life, no matter how low it brings you, don't give it up. Just keep trying because that's what you got to do. Just keep trying, keep reaching out, because the squeaky wheel gets fixed,
does, and you're much better than a squeaky wheel.
Thank you.
You know, you're awesome. You coming over to Youth for Justice tomorrow?
I am.
9 o'clock.
Yes. I'll see you there.
If you could have one thing you'd want to say right here, right now, face of the earth, what would it be?
Life is beautiful. And it can be, you know. That's all.
I was just telling this wonderful man in front of me, man. Give me a hug. I love Jack, man.
I love you too, Bill.
I met Jack about 1.5 years ago with one of my favorite people of all world the whole time is her name's Tammy Donaldson. And I've kind of told people, Jack, maybe you could chime in. A good way to start it. I said, for the work I do, it's amazing. I've met some amazing people like Tammy and Dinah. I mean, what would you say to that?
Yeah, Tammy is my sister, and she gave me a Jaguar, and I couldn't keep it after a year, and I gave it back to her. And she's good. Who gives you a Jaguar in this world?
How cool is it to have a hot meal out here with the community, Jack?
It's great because it's dark. It seems like it's 10 o'clock, but it's only like 8 o'clock, something like that. You know, Everything's cool, and you know, it's nice to be cool and not be all freezing and like that. You know?
Which is the other cool thing. You're actually indoors. Someone found a little spot for you, a little nest. Tammy's calling it your nest. See, and you've been in your nest now a couple of weeks. How does that feel, transitioning from sleeping wherever you can be not harassed to actually going someplace where you're welcome?
Well, it hasn't even been a week yet, and it's like no smoke. I can't smoke, and you know, it's just like I smoke outside, but you know, it's like compared to freezing, being cold, it's all the difference in the world.
Maybe you could share a little bit about how important it is to have friends like Dinah and Wendy and Tammy for people that are out here on the streets.
It's very important because, like, all my friends that I've known for like 10 or 12 or whatever years, they'll flip me a couple of bucks and they'll still talk to me, as opposed to like some of these other guys that I hang out with my buddies. You know, they screw you over. That's okay, but I mean, you know, be able to trust somebody. You know,
it is. It's nice to have some place to go. I wanted to talk a little bit about, because you're doing really good with not drinking so much. So you're actually, now that you're indoors, you're able to have a safe place for your stuff, and you drink just enough so you get by. Why don't you explain that a little?
I don't want to blow a good thing. You know, I remember, you know, what it looks like, because like, I don't care what it looks like. I mean, I do care about what it looks like, because, you know, like, I like it when somebody says, "Oh, you did a good job," it makes me feel good. You know, in my own little way, I'm out to please other people, but not really, you know what I mean?
But you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Awesome. But you were explaining how you used to be out here and you'd drink a little too much and you'd fall asleep, you'd wake up, all your stuff was gone. How much better is it having a place where you don't have to worry about that?
Well, it hasn't been so long, so I'm just going to knock on wood and, I won't let that happen again, because I look at it as just because I hang out with my friends, and I get all wasted. Oh, God only knows I'm disrespecting my friends, and I should be, might as well steal all my crap because I'm being disrespectful in my own little way. They might as well disrespect me as well.
But now that you're in a respectful place, does it make it easier to be respectful?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
You look happy, Jack, and I'm happy. Seeing you happy, man. You look freaking happy.
You know, we're old family. You know, we're not gang. I'd rather be called old doctor than old gangster. You know, like, that's ridiculous. You know,
Dr. Jack. That's your new nickname, Dr. Jack.
That's cool.
Why don't we do something fun on 3? Both of us will say we love you, Tammy and Dinah. You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. We love you, Tammy and Dinah. All right, we're really, really blessed. Like I said, we have a few people in the studio that are going to talk about that clip, but I can't miss. There's actually an interview I did with an 11-year-old girl back in 2013 that really nails the whole issue about marginalized communities right here on People-Powered Radio, KZFR 90.1 FM. Tell us a little bit more about what you think about, telling people it's not okay to sit down and, how that relates to you and what your feelings are.
It's gonna really hurt a lot of homeless people because there's a lot of homeless people in Chico. So it's almost like we're going back to the 1960s where black people, it's 1960s, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Where black people, yeah. 1960s where black people weren't allowed to sit on certain chairs or allowed to drink out of certain fountains. It's kind of like that, but they're people too and they have feelings. And we can we should let them be able to sit wherever they want to sit, because it's at least bad enough that they don't have a house. And it will also be taxing, giving them fines for sitting where they want to sit as an American, and that's not right. And then they won't have any money, so they'll owe the police money, and they'll just go to jail because they don't have any money.
Wow, you got it all figured out. I swear you do. That's exactly what happened.
You know, I was thinking, an 11-year-old can figure this out in America. Why can't you?
All right, I'm turning it over to my guest. That's a real tough act to follow. I'd love to have that now 13-year-old girl in the studio, but big shout out for that interview. But I just want to kind of open the mics. I know Rain and Peter and possibly even Chris were just taking notes like crazy about that interview and then the Food Not Bombs. So take it away.
Well, one thing I want to say is that, part of what Food Not Bombs does is in what we're doing right now in front of City Council. And what, we've done in the past is that we share food with people in public space where we connect with people because everybody needs food. And we don't just serve people who are homeless. We serve anybody who is hungry. That's part of what we do, right? So everyone is sharing food together. Right now, we're drawing attention to this ordinance, which is, criminalizing homeless people. But it also brought up for me that interview with Clem when he talked about the bathrooms that are on the little triangle island in front of Children's Park downtown, that 10 years ago when I first started doing Food Not Bombs, that's where we used to serve. That fence that's up around there with the flowers in it, that section used to be really small, and there used to be this big old bench there, and there used to be all this space where people could sit, and homeless people would sit there, and we would serve Food Not Bombs there. And at that point, we were actually serving 3 days a week, and we were right there where everybody could see us and where everybody could see the homeless people. And lo and behold, the city decided that they were going to expand this fenced area and take out that bench, so there's no longer a place for people to really comfortably sit there. And it's the same thing that happened with the bench on 3rd Street that got taken out, that people used to sit on because it was out of the main flow of traffic, that, people who were on the street weren't in everybody's way, right? But people still were mad about it because people don't want the homeless people to be visible. That's the idea that came up, in that interview also, is that they feel like they have to hide, and that there aren't spaces that are safe for them, that as human beings, we all want to be safe, and we all want to find a place to be safe, even if we don't have a house to go into, even if you're a person who has a house, you're sitting in the park, you want to be safe in the park. Everybody wants to be safe. And whether that's being harassed by the police, whether that's being harassed by a fellow citizen, whether that's being physically accosted by somebody, nobody wants that in their life, and everybody's got so many things going on, and any person that you look at, you have no idea what's going on for them, where they come from, who they are.
Peter?
Yeah, I wanted to jump in, and we got a room full of what seems like advocates in general, and homeless advocates in particular in this particular issue. I just want to mention one thing about being a homeless advocacy, being a homeless advocate. A lot of people in this town devote themselves to doing a lot of really good work here, and they end up doing a lot of good work from the Jesus Center on down. But these are a collection of individuals taking time out of their day, money out of their own pocket. They can only do so much, and with a lot of sacrifice to their own personal lives. I think a lot of the advocacy needs to come from the city itself. And that's part of the reason why Food Not Bombs is serving food outside the city council, because this needs to be prioritized by the city council, not just criminalizing homelessness, but dealing with the needs of the homelessness. And they've thrown their hat into the ring by passing the safe space and public space water ordinance.
They need to get back in the ring.
Yeah, they're
to actually come up with some solutions.
Yeah, they need to prioritize funding.
Because I don't walk a day, Peter and everyone else, where I don't see people that are dramatically impacted by these laws, because these laws are applied to everyone. whether or not they're quote unquote this very small segment, not much bigger than the normal population, that are quote unquote criminals doing crazy stuff. It really has a huge, huge impact on people. And I think you heard a little bit of it in some of those interviews.
Well, and statistically, most violent crime is not committed by homeless people.
Yep.
And, like you're saying, that people that this show is about economic justice, and there's a problem in our country and our culture in how we view value and money and human value, and there's a lot of people that are suffering in that. And what I've seen over the years is that the homeless population, yes, there are some amongst them that are younger folks and some that might be just be passing through, but there is a growing number of homeless people in this town and in other places that are elderly, that are disabled physically, that are, have serious mental health issues, that, they don't have family members to care for them. They don't have, even if they can get social service benefits like food stamps, it's not enough for them to actually live off of.
Yep. Well, you were going to say a little bit about the LGBT community, because they're at 40 to none. 40% of homeless youth are LGBTQ. You were going to talk a little bit about that.
So, the LGBTQ plus community is definitely disproportionately affected by homelessness. There are a lot of folks within the gender and sexual minority community that are disowned by their parents at young ages, kicked out, things like that, and or lose jobs, things like that for their gender identity, for their sexuality. And today is actually a really important day. It's Transgender Day of Remembrance, where people all over the place are holding events, including right here in Chico at 6 p.m. at the Faith Lutheran Church on First Avenue, being hosted by the Stonewall Center, where people all over are remembering transgender people who have been lost this past year, a lot of them from violence. A lot of transgender people end up on the streets because they get disowned by their families, or they get, kicked out of their apartments because of discrimination, or they get, they lose their jobs or whatever it is. And there isn't enough advocacy for them. There isn't enough laws protecting their rights. And so they end up on the streets disproportionately in their, demographic. A lot of them end up on the streets at some point in their life. And so, today at 6 p.m.,
awesome.
We're going to be remembering them.
Awesome. And I'm going to leave the mics open here for our studio guests. I'm going to quit talking. You've heard enough Guillermo Mash. I really appreciate you folks listening to the KZFR Peace and Social Justice Show here on 90.1 FM. And anyway, what do you guys want to end on? What do you got?
Well, last thing I wanted to mention is homelessness being a very systemic problem that needs like a larger broad solutions from the city itself. Individual advocacy is wonderful. If you get a large group of people together, you can really do a lot of great things, and then they do daily.
And I just want to invite people, because of the season that we're in, to think of another community that also disproportionately experiences homelessness, which is the Native American Indigenous community. So when you sit down to your Thanksgiving dinner with your family, think about the original peoples who were on this land, that a lot of them are no longer here, but some of them still are, and we should remember that they are here and support the resiliency and resurgence of Native communities.
Yeah, I'll do a shout out too real quick before I turn it over to an announcement by Chris, but I know folks had seen it was in the ER, it was kind of all over the news. That man's face was in the Orion not that long ago, but Dakota, Lily, was a Native American homeless man who died on the streets, man, and no one deserves to die on the streets and without being in a safe, warm place with their loved ones. Transition here to a final song, but once again, I want to thank everyone for listening to the Peace and Social Justice Show and for tuning in to Ray Lager on The Dead Show, and have a safe, happy, and fulfilling Thanksgiving.